I just want to say I love you guys. Well, we've got a lot of great news to talk about today. The Tesla team has done an incredible job of executing over the past year, and we have many exciting years ahead of us. So, yeah. So with the Tesla Master Plan Part 3, which admittedly was quite technical, we wanted to go into a lot of technical depth. It was clear that what we were saying was not just, were not merely assertions, but that they were backed up with physics and with real data, that it's realistic. And with the Master Plan Part 3, we want to, basically, the goal is to give people hope, realistic hope, and maybe hope's even the wrong word, but simply to say that there is a path to a fully sustainable global economy, that we are on that path, that we are accelerating that path, and that so long as we don't get complacent about it, it will happen. So I'll kind of rush through a recap of the Master Plan Part 3, but some of the salient points are that it will actually take less energy to go sustainable, not more energy. It's actually more, and some of these things may sound very obvious, but it's more energy efficient to go sustainable, not less. There's less mining that is required for a sustainable energy economy, not more. Also very important. I heard a question raised about cobalt mining, and you know what? We will do a third-party audit. So in fact, we'll put a webcam on the mine. And if anybody sees any children, please let us know. I don't want to go off on a tangent too much on that front, but it's very important to appreciate that most of our battery packs are iron-based. A majority of our battery packs are iron-based, not cobalt. And then our other battery packs are nickel-based, not cobalt. The nickel batteries use a little bit of cobalt as a binder, but only a tiny amount. In contrast, your phones all use 100% cobalt. I recommend complaining to the phone manufacturers. But even for the small amount of cobalt that we do use, we will make sure, 6 ways to Sunday, that no child labor is being exploited. Obviously, we're a company that cares a lot about doing the right thing, and we don't want to delude ourselves or delude anyone else. So, yeah, count. So, again, just recapping Master Plan Part 3, really the point is to say that it is very, very doable. It is happening. We need a threefold increase in solar and wind. We need to, admittedly, some of these are 29-fold increase in vehicle stationary and thermal battery production. Actually, in a nutshell, the way to think about sustainability is the faster we can make battery packs, the faster we can move to a sustainable energy economy. That's the fundamental limiting factor. So, I'll just grab some water here. So, yeah, I can't emphasize that point enough. The rate of lithium-ion battery production fundamentally decides the rate at which the world transitions to sustainability, because the batteries are needed for all forms of transport and for stationary storage, given the intermittent nature of solar and wind power. And we do invite people to critique our analysis, because any given analysis is going to be to some degree wrong. So that's why we put it out there, looking for critical feedback to say, well, perhaps we've got some things wrong, perhaps some things need to be adjusted. But generally, the feedback we've gotten is that actually our analysis is quite accurate, and we've not seen any rebuttals thus far that would cause us to change our assumptions. So it means roughly 240 terawatt hours of battery pack, or 240,000 gigawatt hours of battery need to be produced, but it'll only take 0.2% of land area for solar and wind. So it's not like we need to carpet the earth with solar and wind. It's just literally a fraction of a percent. Roughly a $10 trillion manufacturing investment, which relative to the global economy is actually a small number. Yeah, roughly 10% of the world economy. I think 10% of the world economy is a small price to pay for a sustainable energy future. So, it's also true that even when factoring in the cost or the emissions required to produce an electric vehicle, which for now are a little higher than gasoline vehicles, when you look at the emissions over time, electric vehicles absolutely win by a long shot. And as we're seeing, the cost and the emissions required to produce an electric vehicle are dropping rapidly over time. And we're going to get to the point where an electric vehicle is cheaper than a gasoline vehicle. So in 2022, we avoided releasing about 13 million tons of CO2, reduced manufacturing GHG per vehicle by 30%, and reduced water usage by 15%, despite massive increases in output. So, we also made our factories safer, which is really important. So we track the injuries per person, and we believe at this point we are best in industry, or have the lowest injuries per person. So. We're now actually quite a big company from a headcount standpoint. This is our direct employment number. So this does not count contractors. And for every manufacturing job, depending on how you count it, there are at least 5, sometimes up to 10 jobs created, because you got to look at the total supply chain, as well as all of the support functions. So, when you create a factory like this, you actually create jobs for teachers, lawyers, carpenters, electricians, and restaurants, and everything that's required to support a person at a factory. And this is why countries and states are so interested in having manufacturing facilities in their location. So anyways, it's a lot of people gainfully employed doing very useful things. We received 3.6 million job applications last year. So, and once again, the top 2 most desired companies for engineers on Earth were SpaceX and Tesla. So, at the end of the day, the competitiveness of any given company is a function of where are the most talented people interested in working. That is the team that's going to win. In fact, I'd say this is generally the case. If you look at any given company and say, where are the most smartest, most driven people going to work, that company is going to win. So whether it's Tesla or any other company. We're also excited to announce our next-gen drive unit, which is a big reduction in silicon carbide. It's half the factory space. Notably, there are 0 rare earth elements required. So, yeah. And we're also changing to a 48-volt low voltage architecture in the car. So, yeah, this is a big deal actually. So the cars have been operating with 12-volt batteries for basically about a century. So for the first time in, I think, over 100 years, we're actually going to change from 12-volt voltage of, outside of the drivetrain to a 48-volt architecture. And to first approximation, that means we need only about a quarter as much copper for, in the car as would be needed for a 12-volt battery. So that's a big deal, because people are often worried about, is there enough copper? Yes, there is. So. And FSD beta is growing hyper-exponentially. So that chart is going to look like a wall, basically. Just a question for those in the room: how many people have tried out FSD beta? Okay, great. So what do you think of the latest build? Right. So it's really getting to the point where it's, at least for me, when I drive around, it's several days between interventions. And I think we're getting to the point where there's really just one last piece of the system that needs to be a neural net, which is the planning and control function. And so we expect to have that last piece become a neural net, so it'll be end-to-end from video in to control out as a neural net. And yeah, so the thing to appreciate is it's not that full self-driving will be as good as a person. It will be much, much better, like a lot, like over time, 10 times more, 10 times safer than a person. It's not even going to be a contest, frankly. So this is a really big deal. And I think some people realize it. I think you guys probably realize it, but being able to do a software update and have several million cars suddenly go from manual driving to autonomous, I think will be the single biggest asset value increase in history. So. The normal usage of a passenger car is roughly 10 to 12 hours per week, call it maybe an hour and a half per day. And when you drive around, you see lots of cars just parked in parking lots, because out of the 168 hours in a week, they're using less than 10%, maybe 7% of the hours of the week a car is in use. But once it is autonomous, it can be used probably, I don't know, 50 hours a week, maybe more. So it is effectively a 5-fold increase in the value of a car overnight. I'm actually surprised that so few people realize this, or maybe they just don't believe it's real, but it is. So this is really an insanely big deal. We're also the largest EV maker in the world. So yeah, and I think that will continue. And while at the same time being the highest margin of any car maker in the world. Now, making electric vehicles profitably is hard, as illustrated by the difficulty of our competitors. A number of our competitors are making EVs at a significant loss. But we are not. We are actually making EVs profitably, and almost no one else is. This is hard. And I'd say for this, it's a massive credit to the Tesla team for, I can't tell you how hard manufacturing is. Like, you've probably heard me say that prototypes are easy, manufacturing is hard. And then manufacturing at scale with positive cash flow is excruciating. It's mega pain. But the Tesla team has done it. So. And as you can see, our free cash flow per year has been increasing steadily. So, you know, we're making good progress. I mean, it should be said that, and I've made some of these comments, that that interest rates make have a very big effect on the affordability of cars. So, the vast majority of people buy cars based on the monthly payment. So it's like how much is the monthly payment? And it's not a question of value for money. It's just, do they actually have enough money? Can they afford it? So for the vast majority of people, it's just, can they afford to pay the payment? As the interest rates increase and credit tightens, like, it's safe to say that these various banks that have died are probably somewhat distracted from handing out auto loans. You know, it's like if they're on their way to the cemetery, increasing their auto loan portfolio is not the first thing on their mind. So this is going to be a challenging 12 months. I want to be sort of realistic about it. That Tesla is not immune to the global economic environment. I expect things to be, just at a macroeconomic level, difficult for at least the next 12 months. Tesla will get through it and we'll do well, and I think we'll see a lot of companies actually go bankrupt. So I want to make sure that this is not just the good news parade. It's important to understand that no company is immune to the macroeconomic environment. But that said, it won't be darkness forever. I expect probably a year of difficulty globally for everyone. And then my best guess is that the global economy turns around in roughly 12 months. And then Tesla will be in an extremely good position. So anyone who is a long-term investor, I think, will do extremely well. And here I want to give a big shout out to the Tesla internal software team. This is it's actually a really big deal that Tesla has such a powerful internal software team. I mean, that software team is responsible for handling the entire customer experience from buying the car, delivering the car, operating the factories, service and support. We internally wrote all of the insurance and financial software. The supply chain and logistics stuff, the data centers and infrastructure, and the analytics and insight. This is all internally written Tesla software. I think there are almost no companies in the world can do this because they do not have a very talented internal software team. So they're generally reliant on third-party enterprise resource planning software. So, but Tesla is not. This is a hidden strength of the company that often doesn't get a lot of attention, but is incredibly powerful. So once again, I'd like to thank them for their work. And as predicted, we are highly confident that Model Y will be the #1 best-selling car on Earth this year. And in fact, in Europe, the best-selling car of any kind, whatsoever, it already was that in Q1, I should say. It's not like will be, it was that in Q1. And China, the best-selling SUV, and the United States, the best-selling non-pickup vehicle in the United States in Q1. So, it's going well. I don't know if this is like the optimal picture, but Tesla cars are actually the safest cars in the world. We put immense effort into vehicle safety, and we keep updating the safety. So we keep improving the automatic emergency braking system just with a software update. And we keep improving the airbag deployment with software updates. So we close the feedback loop on, like when we see an accident, we analyze the accident, we say, what can we do from a software standpoint? Because there's actually quite a lot you can do to, first of all, avoid the accident, because the best accident is no accident. And then if the accident occurs, how do we deploy the airbags and the seatbelt pre-tensioners to minimize the probability of injury? So even for cars that people have owned for many years, we are behind the scenes continuously improving the safety of your car. And there are even some things that I think a lot of people aren't aware of, that we actually have automatic cabin overheat protection. So never in the history of the company has a child or a pet died in a Tesla. Like, so it's one of those like little known features, but because we have a large battery and we're monitoring things all the time, we can make sure that the cabin temperature never gets to lethal levels, and I think that's a big deal. So, So and then while lots of cars will say they've got like 5 stars or whatever, there's nuance to that. When we did the European NCAP sort of active safety tests, we got the highest scores that they've ever seen. So, yeah. So we got a 98% score on the active safety system, which obviously isn't good enough, and but we have got a game plan for getting rid of the last 2%. So. And then it's worth noting things like the total cost of ownership of a Model 3 is now comparable to that of a Toyota Corolla. So. Superchargers, we're making good progress. So our supercharger uptime is now 99.95%. So, yeah. And we have superchargers practically everywhere at this point. Going to Megapack, because this is stationary storage is an important part of solving the sustainable energy problem. And the Tesla Megapack is now more competitive than a natural gas peaker plant. So we have very strong demand for the Tesla Megapack, and we're going to make a lot of them. So, yeah. And a while back, I predicted that the Tesla stationary battery pack business would actually grow faster than the automotive side of things, and that's exactly what has happened. You can see it's an exponential curve, growing at a rate that is even faster than our vehicle sales. So, yeah, sorry. We're expanding Gigafactory Nevada for the Tesla semi-production line and for the 4680 in-house cell production. And yeah, some mega factory stuff. So this is, so we're aiming for 40 gigawatt hours a year, both in California and in China, but I think long term, this will be much greater than this. I mean, I would say I wouldn't be surprised if long term the stationary battery pack activity went well in excess of 500 gigawatt hours per year. So the demand is like quasi-infinite here. So. As we look ahead to tackle what we see as the choke points in the supply chain, one of them is lithium refining. I mean, there have been a few times on Tesla earnings calls where I've said, can someone please just do lithium refining? Because there's just a shortage of it. But we really see very little activity outside of China for lithium refining. So it's not that we wish to take on extra problems, but since nobody else was doing it, we felt we had to do this. And so we've just broken ground on a lithium refinery in Corpus Christi, which will be do more lithium refining than I think probably everything outside of China. So, yeah. And we've signed a deal for our next Gigafactory in Mexico, Gigamexico. And I think that's going to be a fantastic factory. So, you know, we're laying the groundwork for ultimately getting to 20 million vehicles a year. Yeah. So Cybertruck is a hard car to make. It's because it's such a radically new design. It actually, you can't just use conventional methods of manufacturing. We had to invent a whole new set of manufacturing techniques in order to build an exoskeleton-based car instead of an endoskeleton-based car. So it's extremely non-trivial to build the Cybertruck. But we're making good progress on that. We have the, so yes, that's the thing when I, in the factory, I tour the Cybertruck line to see how we're doing there. And sorry for the delay, but we're finally going to start delivering production Cybertrucks later this year. And I think the product, if anything, is better than expectations. I mean, Cybertruck is the car I will be driving on a day-to-day basis. So, and you know, people always want to know what our next product is. But this is not the time to. We obviously need to have a proper, dedicated product launch. I just want to emphasize that we are actually building a new product. We are actually designing a new product. We're not sitting on our hands here. There are 2 new products that I think you will be very excited about. And both the design of the products and the manufacturing techniques are head and shoulders above anything else that is present in industry. So, yeah, anyways. If I were to guess, I would say of these two new products, just these two new products alone, I would say we will probably make, obviously this is just Elon's guess, so don't sue me. But Elon's guess is that that will probably make in excess of 5 million units a year of these two models combined. So. These are all real, by the way. I think the thing perhaps most notable is if you look at the difference between the last time we showed Optimus, and this is a video that was taken basically yesterday, and the Optimus team was up all night making this video. The Optimus team has done an incredible job. So just, yeah. And it's the motors, the controllers, the electronics, and everything you see in the Optimus robot is a Tesla-designed system. So this is, we actually tried to find drive actuators and whatnot that were off the shelf. We found that there weren't any. In order to make an effective humanoid robot, you actually have to design the motors and gearboxes and the electronics from scratch, because it's a very different application from anything else that exists. So we took our world-class motor and power electronics team and said, okay, we need to design several actuators that don't exist in the world, and they did. So Optimus is working quite well. And then for full self-driving, as full self-driving gets closer and closer to generalized real-world AI, that same software is transferable to a humanoid robot. Just like humans can obviously walk around with their arms and legs, but we can drive a car, fly a plane, steer a boat, ride a horse. If you have a generalized understanding, or if you have generalized real-world AI, which is what we are developing for full self-driving, it can be transferred to basically anything. So Optimus will use the same FSE computer as the car. The Optimus stuff is I think extremely underrated, because people just cannot comprehend the consequences. Now, obviously, we need to make sure that we don't have a Terminator scenario. That's very important. It's all fun and games until Terminator shows up. But if you say, like, if you have had a generalized humanoid robot, what would be the effective ratio of humanoid robots to humans? Because I think basically everyone would want one. And maybe people would want more than one, which means the actual demand for something like Optimus, if it really works, which it will, is, I don't know, I mean, 10 billion units? It's some crazy number. It might be 20 billion units if the ratio is, say, 2 to 1 on people, you know, humanoid robots versus people. It might actually be, it's some very big number, is what I'm saying, and a number vastly in excess of the number of cars. So my prediction is that Tesla's long-term value will be, a majority of the long-term value will be Optimus. And that prediction I'm very confident of. So anyway. Let's see, so I think with that we can do questions, perhaps? Oh, okay, what is it? Oh, yeah, we also want to make sure, please, retail investors, please vote. Normally retail investors, for most companies, don't vote, but we really care about your vote of small investors, not just large investors. So please do register to vote. Your vote is very important. Yeah, I think that's it. So, yeah.